Welcome to this assignment. For this assignment, we are role playing. The scenario is this. A venture capitalist has just given you several $1,000,000 to develop your dream product. Now it has gone into production and the manager is asking you as the statistical expert to use statistical methods to ensure quality control. We have 5 parts to the assignment. The first part is to describe your product, its use and societal value in at least one paragraph. For example, I'm envisioning a do-it-all-yourself display, a TV, a computer monitor, a video display for my digital family pictures, a touchscreen, a do-it-all display. You should describe your product in at least one paragraph. Next, we will generate some data for us to analyze the quality of this do-it-all display. We will first start by making a random number. Take the last 2 digits of your birth year and the month in which you were born and add them together. If your number exceeds 100, subtract 100 from the total to ensure that you have a number between 1 and 100. Since I was born in 1962, in January, I will take 62 plus 1 to get 63. This will be my multiplier for my random number generator. Next, I will choose a number between 5 and 10. This will be the number of samples. I'll choose 10 samples. This will be my N. Finally, I will open up Excel and start a new workbook. I can use the Excel function rand. This function generates a random number greater than or equal to 0 and less than 1. I'll type equals rand parentheses times 63 and hit return. If I then multiply the rand number by 63, I'll get a random number between 0 and 100. And I'll do this for 10 samples. I'll hover my mouse over the cell, move to the bottom right corner of the cell to get the autofill symbol, click and drag this down for n equals 10 samples. If this had decimals on your workbook, you can increase or decrease the decimals in this fashion. We don't need any decimal precision for this assignment. Now, each cell represents the proportion of defective parts out of 100 for 10 samples. For instance, my first sample has a 19% of defective displays. Not too bad. Now let's do part 3 and create a P-chart to look at whether the production line of do-it-all displays is within quality control measures. I'll be using the Excel template for Unit 10. Notice that there are multiple tabs on this template for the different quality control charts. I'll pick the P chart. I will copy my production line data that I generated and paste it into the green cells under defects. The sample size for each sample was 100. You can see this will generate the percentage of defect for each sample. Let's change the format of these cells. Again, I didn't need decimal precision for my number of defects out of 100. And my percentage, let's change that to a percentage with 2 decimal places. So it's also calculated the average defect, or the mean or center line, the upper limit, and lower limits. For each of our situations, all 10 samples. Notice they're all the same. It further has identified for you which samples are above or below the acceptable control limits. For example, this first sample has a 59% defect, and it is above the control limit for my P-chart. And just for the record, if I scroll over, I can notice how many standard deviations away from or above and below from the average I'm using for this control chart. Most likely we're going to want to make this 3 standard deviations. And notice how this also will change my upper and lower limits. If you have any questions, please ask your instructor.